I can do that. I can do that one better.
You can do that. I believe in you.
Yeah. See, it's that pep talk that I need right before.
Yeah, I believe.
On this episode of Punks Talk Wrestling, we're just talking about ourselves. When we became wrestling fans, when we became friends, and why the hell we started this podcast in the first place. I am R.W. Hellborn, one half of your Punks Talk Wrestling tag team hosts, hailing quote-unquote from Philly, and always by my side, 3,500 miles away, my tag team podcast partner, he's anything but a big daddy, the proper prick, CJ Newman!
Oh shit, you got me again. Did you know that since 2012, Brock Lesnar has only been pinned by 7 people, and you have 1 minute to tell me who the 7 people are, starting right now. Go.
Roman Reigns.
Yes.
That's one. Bill Goldberg.
Yes.
Braun Strowman.
No.
No?
Nope.
Seth Rollins.
Yep.
That's 3.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Lashley.
Nope.
No?
Pinned. Sorry. That's my
pinned him.
Yeah.
Shit. Without...
Halfway there. 30 seconds.
No, Kofi Kingston did. No, Kofi Kingston got killed by him.
Yeah.
Did Daniel Bryan pin him?
No.
No. Edge did
Nope.
not.
Nope.
Did I say John Cena already?
No, you didn't, but that's another one. 4.
Oh, that's fine. Okay, that's 4?
Yep.
Shit. There's 3 more?
Yep.
Big Show?
Nope.
Damn it. Undertaker.
No.
Undertaker's never
Boom.
pinned Brock
Right,
Lesnar.
you're done. I'm sorry.
That's it. Damn. That's on the spot. I mean, that was, yeah. You put me on the spot.
Okay,
and
so it's Goldberg, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Cena's what you had. The other 3 were Drew McIntyre, Triple H, and Cody Rhodes.
Oh, how could I have forgotten that? That just recently happened.
Just happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
But see, that's what happens when you get put on the spot.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
That was a little fact with a twist on the end there.
Yeah. I caught you. I caught you unprepared. Caught you. I thought I was going to catch you off guard, and you caught me even more off guard.
Boom. That's what you call a reversal.
That is. Yeah. That is. It's it is a wrestling term, and therefore it should be used.
You know what? If you want a fact, because here's another fact, and I don't think I'm ever going to give this fact. Jacqueline Wild, who's in the LWO, right?
Yeah, Joaquin Wild, you mean?
Yeah, I always read it wrong. Shut up. So him.
Yeah, you also say it wrong.
He created and designed the Ring of Honor logo and tagline in 2002 at the age of 15 years old.
No shit.
What the fuck? How did that even happen?
Well, that's something we're going to have to look into.
Yeah. And the tagline was, we don't imitate, we innovate. Definitely written by a 15-year-old.
Damn, that's definitely, that's 100%. But you know what? It probably was the best thing that they had.
Yeah. So, that was going to be my fact. And then I was like, no, I'm putting you on the spot here. So.
Love it. I love it. So we'll just get right into the podcast because we've already started. We've already gotten into the podcast. It's just about us. There's nothing else to talk about but, stroking our own ego.
That's my favorite thing to do.
We're getting ourselves over.
Yeah.
That's what we're supposed to be doing. This is Punks Talk. Yeah, this is Punks Talk Wrestling, and we're punks, and we're talking about wrestling. And today is all about us.
Punks talk wrestling and about ourselves.
Punks talk about ourselves.
Punks talk. Yeah. Oh God, there it goes again.
It is remarkable how quickly we just fall apart, both at the beginning and at the end.
There is structure. I promise. There is a way that we do this.
Barely. Just barely.
Yeah.
The minimal, the least amount of structure possible. If this podcast is purely, this is a chaotic good podcast. We're positive. We're overly positive all the time, and we're just flying by our own whims and follies.
Flying by the seat of our pants. That's not a saying over here, but I know of it.
It's a saying over here, so that's good of you.
Yeah.
You're so much more cultured over there.
Yeah, well, I've been watching wrestling for 25 years. I listen to American commentators every day of the fucking week. So.
That's true. That's true. You did tell me the other day that it's like, or it might have been on the last podcast where we mentioned that you learned about more United States cities through
I know like the
wrestling.
capitals of most states because I watch wrestling.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's easiest for wrestlers to
Whereas
hail
Americans thinks that London is right next to Birmingham when it isn't. So
most Americans don't even know that Birmingham is a thing. Like they think Birmingham is probably part of London.
it's also funny because you call it Birmingham.
Yeah,
it just
because
sounds like you're burning ham.
Yes, but we're enunciating.
I want to hear you say Birmingham. Just say Birmingham like that.
Birmingham.
Nope, say it like
Birmingham.
that. Say Birmingham like that. I want to just hear you say
Birmingham like that.
No, without the ham. Do the Birmingham.
Birmingham. Birmingham.
Birmingham.
Birmingham. I mean, give me enough whiskey, and I could probably say it proper. Birmingham.
There we go. That was good. I'll take that. I'll take that one.
It's hilarious how it's called proper English.
Yeah, yet we don't pronounce fuck all. We're just lazy.
How about we properly start this podcast?
Get into it. Yeah.
Good reference to Riverside Odd's second album, by the way. Thanks for that plug.
Oh yeah, look at that. I didn't even try. I thought you were literally about to say to me then, "Good afternoon, Chris." I was like, this is weird and very formal because it's definitely not. Well, it is afternoon, but it's currently my time, 25 minutes to midnight. So
right, which is still technically
it
afternoon.
It is afternoon, but in about 25 minutes it will be before noon. Also called morning.
Oh shit! Wait, it's 11:30.
Yeah, it's 11:30
over there.
Yeah.
Why do I keep thinking you're only 5 hours? You're 6 hours.
Do the math. Right now.
It's 5:30. It's 5:30.
Yeah, add
right
5 to that. Oh, you're right. Shit. 10:30. Well, I'm sorry. You're right. It is.
Dude, that's all right because.
Dude,
I literally today earlier on, me and my wife forgot how old I was.
Oh my god! You're kidding me.
I've been thinking I was 46. I've probably told you this. I've been telling people I'm 40. I'm only 45.
Okay.
I don't know at what point I got off track, but for
this
whatever reason,
is so
I've been thinking
freaky, dude.
All year.
I was up a ladder earlier. I was at work, and I froze on top of the ladder, and I just went, "How the fuck old am I? I don't know." And I really stood, and then a guy, Robin, walked into like where I was, and he was like, "You okay?" I looked at Robin and was like, "I don't know if I'm 34 or if I'm 35." And I was like, and then I went, 89, 99, 2009, 2019.
Yeah, man.
And then I was like, I'm 34. Cool, I figured it out.
This is the first time that I really have been cognizant, have been, not in an altered state of mind.
Yeah.
And just been like, to the point where I just went in for a procedure on Monday that old man procedure. Yes, I had my first colonoscopy. Yay, my ass is fine. For anyone worried, my ass is just right.
Was it an okay experience? Like, as in the sense that it was comfortable enough?
Yeah, I mean, they knocked me. I was knocked out with whatever stuff that they knock. They give you an IV thing, and you're out in like 5 seconds. Shit. Completely unconscious.
You must be out for not very long, like an hour, right?
No, it's like half an hour.
Shit,
it's like
really?
It's like 20 minutes.
Damn.
And then I woke up. Yeah, I woke up like 45 minutes later, nice. Or something. I don't actually know how long. That's the that weird thing. Actually, I didn't even take notice of what time it was.
Right.
But if you had told, like, it's not like I felt anything, or felt anything afterwards. Like, this is a odd tangent that we immediately got on for this.
I mean, I was not going to ask, and then I did ask. So
this is an About Us episode, so let's really get to know each other.
Yeah.
But that does go. I mean, that to the point being, the weird thing about when I was looking at the bracelet and they had my my date of birth and it's like 45 years old, and I'm like, I think they got my age wrong on the bracelet. How did they do that? Like, wouldn't it just automatically calculate that?
Be on the system
even
somewhere,
Adriana
right?
was like, yeah, that's weird.
Wait, so even Adriana thought you were 36?
Even she didn't even, it didn't register for her either.
That's so
and
good.
I definitely remember talking to people and saying, yeah, I'm 46 years old, and I guess I just, in my head, I think because I'll be 46 in December,
right,
that the entire year. But it was just that weird realization. Like I literally see it on a piece of paper and I think that's wrong.
I think you just get to a point where you just stop caring and stop keeping count.
It's because it's not a thing that anyone asks or cares about, or it's not. It's
especially
not really
when you're older,
for
sure.
To.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, at a certain point, it really just doesn't matter
at all,
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we are.
It's definitely not. Yeah, it's definitely not a thing I think about every day.
No.
How. Only that I'm still plummeting towards 50. But actually, it was great because this literally gave me an entire year more back to my life.
That you didn't even know you had it, and now here you are.
I didn't even know I had it. I was starting to get to the point where I was like, oh man, I'm gonna be in my late 40s next year. No, I'm still in my mid 40s.
Yeah.
Still in my mid 40s.
But in December, you'll be in your late 40s.
No, because I'll only be 46.
Oh, right, you're right. Okay, what is your late?
That's still mid.
It's 47 and a half.
That's still mid. 4, 5, 6. I will, at least the way I look at it is like 40 is 40. 41, 2, 3 is like early 40s.
Okay.
44, 5, and 6 is mid. And 7, 8, 9 is late.
Okay,
I
just
just break it up into threes.
I respect that. I hear that.
It seems logical, but it's probably not anything that anyone else does.
Anyway, what are we doing today, Ralph?
I don't know, man. We're supposed to be talking about how we got into wrestling.
That's right.
But somehow we got into colonoscopies and forgetting your age.
Yeah.
But just like you said, so you and I have a gap in our age.
That's right.
So we obviously got into wrestling at different times.
Very different times
of our lives. Because it was physically impossible for you to start watching wrestling in 1980, 85.
Everything impossible, completely.
80, yeah. To be honest, and I can't remember. See, I don't even remember how old I was. When think about this, I mean, I was born in 77, December of 77. I don't even remember how old I was. Like, it wasn't like I got introduced to wrestling and I was 9 and like I was old enough to remember. I've never not remembered not watching wrestling. I don't know if there was too many contractions in there. I have no memories in my lifetime where I haven't been watching wrestling and known about wrestling.
Right.
So I figure I must have seen it. I must have been exposed to it like by the time I was 4 or 5.
Right.
So this is early 80s, 80, 81, 82. Because to the point before I ever saw wrestling live, I remember getting VHS tapes of, WrestleMania 2 and WrestleMania 3. So the first, I must have seen wrestling on TV and then got my parents and grandparents to rent the WrestleMania tapes and SummerSlam. SummerSlam wasn't even there yet because that we'll get into. One of the first live wrestling events I went to was SummerSlam '89. My dad took me to a TV taping before SummerSlam. I think earlier that year, or maybe it could have been even a year before that. And I pulled that up because I knew that I needed to remember that date. That was SummerSlam 1989.
Right.
Which was the second SummerSlam ever. So I must have, by that time, 88 or 89, I must have been renting, getting the videos and stuff and watching it enough that I was following.
I was just looking at the card for that event, and you saw Andre the Giant wrestle live, man.
I saw Andre. Yes, I've seen
insane.
Andre the Giant. I've seen the Ultimate. I got to see the Ultimate Warrior in his heyday.
Yeah. Hogan, Savage. I mean, you name it, man.
Hogan, Savage, Beefcake, Dead DiBiase, Jimmy Snuka,
Dusty Rhodes.
Greg
Dusty Rhodes was on that card.
Dusty Rhodes and the Honky Tonk Man. Yeah, Dusty Rhodes defeated the Honky Tonk Man. At that, And going back and looking at that, I didn't even remember how, like, we have to go back and we'll have to go back in depth for the, like, our first big events that we've seen. This was going back and looking at this card. It is an incredible card, and I kind of forgot. I kind of forgot the things that I saw, in a weird way.
Right.
Just like you forget how old it is. You forget until you forget until you look back and I'm extremely lucky to have been able to get into, be around at that time and have gotten into it. So that's me. That's a very in the very short term. That's where I got into it at a very young age and a long time ago.
Yeah.
But this was like the birth of the Hulk Hogan era. I was firmly into that, and that's probably where I started seeing. Like, I must have seen Hulk Hogan was on everything. They had the cartoon. They had the Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah, he was
for WWF.
He was a pop culture icon back then.
Yeah,
I mean, it's crazy.
So I'm sure that.
I mean, you think about. I mean, basically you were basically the age you were at this point. How old were you around '89?
Well, so '89, I was. I would have been 11, yes, because I would have turned 12 that year. So
I would have been.
Yeah, I was 11 years old.
Like for 10 years later, '99, I would have been 9, no, 10. Sorry, 10. And and it's crazy to think, like 10 years later, from it, Austin was the big guy and another pop culture icon. It's kind of crazy to think.
Oh well, I mean, but then you kind of realize these generational icons they have about a decade in them.
Yeah, exactly.
Like at that point, yes, Hulk Hogan has definitely been on, but Hulk Hogan by 99, Hogan wasn't in WWE. So just from that perspective of since we still are a WWE centric podcast, like from that perspective, if looking at that bubble, who fills that gap? Hogan, even if Hogan would have stayed in WWE, he would have gotten old, because what does Hulk Hogan do? Like Hulk Hogan, maybe if he didn't go to WCW, if somehow he might have done his heel turn in WWE, there's definitely other podcasts and people who have talked about that, people who were involved at that time.
Yeah.
That was, that may not have ever been a thing in WWE. I mean, we see it now with John Cena. John Cena's never been a heel,
and
aside from when he started, before he became the John Cena that we know. When he was Dr.
Thugonomics and stuff.
The Dr. Thugonomics he was kind of just a dick, but he was in the heel, like he was a heel to the extent that he was just mainly a dick.
Pretty much, yeah.
But once he got, but that wasn't what made him popular. That got him to the next level. That once he became a solid face, he never went back.
Right.
And even Hogan, before he was Hulk Hogan, had a small, like, there were times where he was not the good guy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
the good guy.
When he was in Japan, I think as well, he was not much of a good guy there.
Well, no, because in Japan,
he was a Westerner, so no, definitely.
Yeah, he was a Westerner, so it's easy for him to be the bad guy.
Exactly.
There for the hometown hero.
So I mean, it's hazy for me. What do you reckon? Do you remember what the first event or match you ever saw on TV was? Your first ever exposure to professional wrestling? What that was?
It's so hazy. Yeah, that's the thing. It's so hazy because it could have just been it could have been in passing. The first big memories I have were Survivor Series. And let me see if I can quick look up what year it was, because the Survivor Series, when Survivor Series started, they were holding it literally on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
And I remember going to a family member's house and wanting to watch it, thinking I could watch it, not understanding what pay-per-view was at the time,
Yeah.
just thinking like I already knew. So I had been watching at that time to know that they were advertising Survivor Series. Now, I didn't know anything about pay-per-view, but Survivor Series, Survivor Series started in '87.
Yeah.
So Survivor Series is a year before SummerSlam, because the first SummerSlam was in '88. So my guess is I probably knew about Survivor Series already. It might have been the first Survivor Series that I was trying to watch, because '87, I would have been 9 years old. That sounds about right, 9 or 10 years old, and I'd have to go and chat with my family to find out what years it was that we were going to some. I don't even remember what family member it was that we were at. I just remember I'm at Thanksgiving, and all I can think about is I want to watch wrestling.
Right.
I don't want to be at the table. So that's like my very first like vivid memory of I am a wrestling fan and I want to watch wrestling, because the first memory was I want to do it and I can't.
Yeah.
Because once dinner was over and I was even allowed to try to watch it, it was on pay-per-view, and you had to pay for it, so I couldn't actually see it. And I think I even tried, at that point, that was when if you certain boxes, it would come in kind of squiggly and you could hear part of it, but so there was a part that I was trying to just listen to what was going on, and nobody wanted to have it, somebody else wanted. There was probably a football game, or there was something else going on, whatever else goes on Thanksgiving here. I don't think of anything else but Survivor Series.
Well, so for me, it's...
So that's probably my...
Yeah, go on, man. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, that's probably my chance to finally answer the question.
Yeah. Yes,
that's my first vivid memory of being... I knew I was a wrestling fan, and that's it.
Yeah,
that was the
I'm
most
trying...
thing.
So it's hazy. I can remember... There's a few dotted memories. So basically... My wrestling fandom is to thank. There's one person I need to thank, and I don't even know the guy anymore because I haven't seen him in 25 years. But I used to go to school with a guy called Ibrahim, and we used to call him Ibs. And he, I don't know how he lived around a corner from me. I don't know how, but he just had. He had ways of watching wrestling at a time that I didn't know anyone else had a way of watching it in the UK, right? So one day he must have told me about wrestling and told me about, I don't know, I think one of the very first things he had told me about was The Undertaker, and all I was getting from him was descriptions of people and how cool they sounded. And and I was like, whoa, this stuff sounds crazy cool. Now, so I think it must have been around 1997. He lent me, so he would record the pay-per-views onto VHS, and he would lend them to me. And one of the very first pay-per-views he ever lent me was Mind Games 1996. And just as a little kind of factoid for you, and I just need to clarify this.
In your house Mind
Games, yeah. So it was Mind Games 1996. Now I found this fact about a week ago, and I just wanted to make sure that it was right. Yeah, I am right. So kind of crazy that this is one of the very first wrestling events that I ever watched, and speed ahead 20 years later, I meet you, because this was the very first wrestling event to be held in the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia.
Oh shit, look at that.
How crazy is that?
That is that's another just weird, awkward coincidence.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So yeah, but I was getting sporadic tapes from him, so it's hard to say when I really started to watch it, because I was just watching it for the sake of watching it, and I remember getting that. Ones I vividly remember getting from is that one. I remember him
Yeah.
giving me Unforgiven 98 with Undertaker versus Kane in the Inferno match. I remember getting the Buried Alive pay-per-view. So a lot of Undertaker-centric stuff, actually.
Yeah,
And
well, I mean, that's what that time period
yeah,
was.
so and I would
too.
get them. I'd get a tape, and then like months would pass, and I'd get another one, and like 6 months would pass, and I'd get another one, or I'd go over to his and we'd watch an event. But the time that I really like, so I was watching sporadically on and off because there was no other way. Around 1998, though, I'm like, my dad must have caught wind that I was watching wrestling, or So my dad, fuck, I don't think I've ever told you this. My dad
No.
was a huge wrestling fan in the 70s, 60s and 70s. Now, I don't know how much you
Really?
know about wrestling in the UK, but we had a show on TV on Saturday nights called World of Sport. That's what it was called. And that was like a show which showcased sport generally, but an hour of that show would be wrestling, and it would be called World of Sport Wrestling. And there were people on there
nice.
like Giant Haystacks, Big Daddy. There's a lot. There's the guy that was the general manager for NXT UK, the on-screen general manager. I cannot remember his name for the life of me, but he was also.
Yeah.
Yeah, his name escapes me. But he was a wrestler on World of Sport Wrestling, and so a lot of these big names were the big names in the UK in the 70s. And my dad,
Johnny Saint,
there he is. That's his name.
Johnny
so
Saint.
he was one of the guys back then as well. And but Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks were the two mega stars in the UK. But Big Daddy was a national treasure, probably you'd say. Big Daddy was the Hulk Hogan, and Giant Haystacks was, I don't know. Giant Haystacks was the mega heel, basically, of the two. Anyway, so my dad would basically, I'm not sure what his job was at the time, but it ended up he would end up going drinking with a lot of the roster.
Oh shit!
After the shows, because he worked really nearby to where they filmed it. So my dad got to meet a lot of Johnny Saint, Giant Haystacks, and Big Daddy, all these guys. So he had a lot of stories about that when I was younger.
I just looked up Big Daddy because I had never heard of him.
Yeah.
Big Daddy Shirley Crabtree.
That's right.
Yeah. Shirley Crabtree Jr.
Yeah.
I wonder if that, I happened to notice when I was watching NXT UK, which I loved NXT UK. Sidebar, and I've said this for years. You know this. I thought NXT UK was probably the most consistent 1 hour of excellent wrestling that WWE had.
Yeah.
Like they had some really good storylines too, but that show had a unique feel.
Yeah.
I mean, because obviously it needed to appeal to a UK audience too.
Yeah.
But they definitely treated big men differently in NXT UK. And still in NXT to some degree.
Yeah.
Bigger men, and some of those guys were my favorite guys in the NXT promotion. Gallus boys, bigger dudes. What was the Mastiff? Dave Mastiff.
Yeah.
Like he's just a barrel of a man, and those guys, It's interesting to hear that, and maybe that's sort of like I don't know if that's an homage to Big Daddy or like the fact that he was so treasured that big guys like them are just always associated with them.
Yeah.
So they seem to be faces more often.
Yeah.
Instead of big bad heels,
Yeah, exactly.
that we usually get over here.
Yeah.
Like monster guys are usually heels over here.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, so yeah, my dad, he basically was like, okay, Chris is getting into wrestling, and I don't know, I must have caught wind of how to watch wrestling over here, which was through Sky Sports, which is they still. Oh no, they don't. BT got the contract now, but whatever. Sky Sports used to air wrestling. My dad, amazingly, being freaking dad of the year, bought us basically got us cable television, what you guys I guess would call cable TV, and
just to watch wrestling.
just so I could watch pro wrestling. And so 1998
awesome.
onwards is when I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, I feel like I'm one of the only people I know that this is the case. I started watching Monday Night Raw in 1998. I ain't stopped yet.
Oh yeah, I have never. There was a very brief time where I stopped, where I wasn't watching Monday Night Raw,
Right.
and it was only the only time it was when I didn't have cable in college.
Same. When I
short-
went to university in 2009, I had no way of watching it, so I didn't. I kind of kept up online, but that was about it. I didn't.
Yeah,
It's the best I could do.
At that point it was 97. You know, it was 97, 98,
Right.
and that was really only for a brief time. And there was I wasn't as even when we got cable at that apartment, and I was able to watch it. I wasn't following it as closely, even though it was the Monday Night Wars at that point in time, or close to it, because I know WCW was definitely going pretty strong in 90, by that time, 96, 97, 98. And it was just, there were just other things going on when you're in college and stuff. There's a lot of shit going on.
That's right. Yeah.
And I just sort of fell out, and I was away from anybody else that watched it too.
Well, that's crazy.
There was
It all
nobody
kind of
else.
lines up for us. You really got your vivid memories of wrestling from 89, and mine are from starting in 99. Then you kind of fell out with it in 99 when you were going to college, and I fell out of it in 2009 when I was going to uni. So it all lines up 10 years apart, really. It's kind of crazy.
It's an easy cycle of that.
But
and there was, because I grew up with when Hogan left WWE, and it really was. I think when Hogan left WWE, there was that lull. Even though I loved Hitman Hart, I liked what was coming up. There was also a lot of people were talking about ECW at the time, and you would think, a dude from Philly, I should be all into that. But I love that ECW existed. I never was into ECW, no matter how much anyone else tried to get me into it. I've never been a fan of hardcore all the time, and like we've talked about, I'm a production value guy. Like it just wasn't my thing. It's being from Philly. I'm quote unquote from Philly, so I can get away with it, and also it doesn't matter. But you'd think I'd be all about it. I'm just
you can
all the hardcore
appreciate
stuff, all
you
the
can
death
appreciate its significance for Philadelphia and for wrestling, but it's just not your cup of tea.
I absolutely can, and I certainly understand why it was so popular.
Is that a phrase you use out there? Do you say "I'm not my cup of tea"?
Yeah, we do that. Even though we don't,
really commonly drink tea.
Even
too
though
much.
we don't. Not a lot of people do. It's a phrase more refined people who drink tea would use more often, I guess. I just say it ain't my thing. It ain't your thing.
Ain't my cup of tea. Is what I'd say.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so for me, Monday Night Wars, right? So here's another thing. So in the 90s, when obviously my dad got cable, or what we'd call, what the fuck did we call it? Sky. I don't know. Sky was the only thing that was around back then.
Because it was coming from satellites. So I guess
the Sky. Anyway, so with that, I got the Cartoon Network. Everyone knows the Cartoon Network, I think. Anyway,
oh yeah.
Right. So
we have Cartoon Network.
Yeah, it's still a thing, right? So what would happen though? So I would watch the Cartoon Network on a Friday night when I got home from school, and so here's another thing. you guys would obviously get Monday Night Raw live or whatever, and SmackDown live.
Yeah.
We would get Raw on a Friday night. That's when we would get it. We would not get it live.
Yes, I remember you. Yeah, we talked about this a long time ago.
Yeah, I think maybe when.
You were always.
Yeah, we'd get it on a Friday. Now, so I'd get home from school on a Friday. I'd watch cartoons on Cartoon Network. Now, I guess because it was owned by the Turner Warner Company, so when 10 o'clock hit on a Friday night, Cartoon Network would turn into TNT.
Really?
Yeah, and immediately, as soon as Cartoon Network would end, there would be no ad break. It would go straight into the Monday Night Nitro intro.
Really?
Yeah, and
that's
because me and my friends, and this was like proper sign of the times, me and my friends were so vehemently WWF fans that I remember even at school talking about like, yeah, we used to watch Cartoon Network and then immediately change over to Sky to watch, because they do the same over here. They would have Raw and Nitro would be on at the same time as well in the UK, but just on a Friday night instead.
Really? And it did always baffle me. It did baffle me that, like, I understand the interest in competition, and also understandably it was Turner that was doing it.
Yeah.
Intentional. Like, Monday Night Raw obviously came beforehand, and they decided to go up against it. It never made any sense to me why they ever wanted to compete in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, why would, understandably it didn't matter for the live shows because they were in a different area. They were very, very rarely, except for one or two times, and DX definitely, WWE took way more advantage of it than WCW ever dared to do.
Yeah.
They were never anywhere near each other on the same days that they were doing stuff. Also because, at certain points Monday Night Raw wasn't live either.
Yeah, exactly.
But I never, it never occurred to me, and I never understood why they wanted to compete in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't they just put Nitro on Tuesday Nitro? Like, what wouldn't be the benefit?
I guess at the time it was just so cutthroat. It was just shit. Sorry, excuse me.
But there was no reason for it.
Yeah,
there was no reason. There was never a reason other than Ted Turner being it had to be personal.
Yeah, it was a case of like only one company's going to survive. That's basically it. And that was why it was a war. You go into war to end the other, and that's exactly what they were trying to do. I guess that's the
thing, because they probably knew that they couldn't start something new and have it on and off night. They had to give someone an alternative that's already like, I'm going to watch wrestling on Monday night from 9 o'clock to 11.
Yeah.
That's my time for watching wrestling. So they decided the better thing to do was, let's slowly try to steal the market and put them out of business. But, and look what happened.
Yeah.
Look what happened. Like, it seems so silly that they would go out of their way to do something where who never did it. TNA has never tried to compete with, and they're still around. They're still doing their thing.
They did for such a brief.
Well, they did for a moment, and they realized it would have.
They
realized
tried.
They would have run
so there was
themselves
this one
business.
night. I remember this. Crazy. So, it was the night of the Monday Night Raw where Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels met for the first time since the Screwjob. Remember that episode of Raw where they shook hands and hugged and stuff? Yes,
way later. I mean, that's
2009 or something. It was years.
Yeah,
after.
yeah.
So that episode coincided with Impact moving to Mondays, and it was on exactly the same time as Raw, and that
was TNA Impact.
TNA Impact, yeah.
TNA tried.
TNA tried. Yeah. And I meant just Impact Wrestling.
No, I meant like the true NWA, like NWA television. Well,
okay, I get you. Sorry.
We might be. I might have some mistaken. information, or I might be remembering some things incorrectly, as I often do. But anyway, continue.
Well, I'll get on to anyway what I was gonna say, because this has nothing to do with any of it. You mentioned your first event being the SummerSlam, so we didn't really get
first major event.
Yeah, so we didn't really
first major event.
But yeah, so I mean, we'll get to my first major event in a second because it all coincides with something we both went to. But my very first WWE event, I'll go track back a little first. In the late 90s, I went to go see a wrestling event at Hastings Pier. Hastings is a little small seaside town in the south of England, with my dad, headlined, mind you, by very not well Jake the Snake Roberts.
Ooh.
Yeah, this is after his run with the WWF had ended. It must have been around 1999. It had to have been around 1999, and he was not in great shape. I got his autograph. I met him. There was also Jody. I mean, you're not going to know who these people are, but like Jody Fleisch was a huge star in the late 90s. There was a company around called FCW at the time. Frontier Championship Wrestling, I think. They were the biggest company in the UK. But this is at the time where British wrestling was, like, when I mean it was dead, it was fucking dead. Like, British wrestling was at an all-time dire low. Nothing like what it is now. But yeah, I mean, that was technically my first show. First proper WWE show, though, it was a house show, and I never got a chance. Well, there were no pay-per-views I could go to. They weren't filming Raw and SmackDown in the UK for quite a number of years, until about 2005 or so. So I actually just found the card on my online somewhere, and it was April 22nd, 2005. It was a WrestleMania Revenge Tour, so it was just after WrestleMania. At the XL Convention Center. There's only 8,000 people in attendance. And I'll go through the card because it's a little bit of a blast from the past, this one. We had,
all right, yeah, I'm looking at. I'm trying to look it up myself.
Rene Dupree versus Mark Jindrak. We have Paul London versus Akio, Billy Kidman, Chavo Guerrero, Funaki, Nunzio, Shannon Moore, and Spike Dudley in a cruiserweight title battle royal, which I do remember being quite fun. Tori Wilson versus Dawn Marie with special guest referee Miss Jackie. You could probably expect what kind of match that was. The Basham Brothers versus Charlie Haas and Hardcore Holly. Interesting. For the tag team titles.
Yeah, that's an interesting. Yeah. Well, it's a combo. They did not win the tag.
Oh no, it wasn't for the tag team titles. Sorry, my bad. That was just a tag team match. Booker T versus Heidenreich. Now this is Now this is where things start getting damn good. We got John Cena and the Big Show versus JBL and Orlando Jordan. So that is John Cena super early in his career.
Yeah, what an odd combo. Well, what is this? 2005, John Cena.
That's right. He was okay. Yeah, he was just about turn. He was a face at this time. Obviously, he was against JBL here. In fact, he had just won the WWE Championship. Pretty sure. No, maybe. Am I right?
Okay.
Am I right in that 2005?
Well, he would have won. He won the championship from JBL.
It had to have been that. Yeah. We had Emmett.
Or was it in the lead? Oh, because it was WrestleMania Revenge. It was after WrestleMania. This was probably right after he won the title.
It must have been. Yeah. We had Eminem, Joey Mercury, and Johnny Nitro versus Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, and that one really sticks with me because I remember that vividly.
See, now I never got to see. I don't think I'll have to look back at some of the live events that I've been to.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever seen Eddie Guerrero wrestle.
Right, yeah. And I'm so thankful that I got the chance. Like, I mean, he was gone later that year. Think about that. It's April. He died in November. So that's...
Yeah, because at that point, Bradley was... At 2005, Bradley was my son was 6 or 7,
right?
Probably about that. So it would have been. I don't know that it might have started taking him to wrestling shows that early on, but I don't think so. I think he and I didn't start going to wrestling shows with him until later.
So they got Carlito Caribbean Cool versus Scotty 2 Hotty to cool down the crowd a little bit, because the main event, I remember that so well. The main event was about a 45-minute match, and it was The Undertaker versus Kurt Angle.
Damn.
And the only time I've ever seen Undertaker in person, and it was a house show, but I'm so thankful I got to see him at like one of his primes of his career in a match against Kurt Angle, and I got to see his entrance. So I'm very happy that I got to experience all of that at the very least. So,
and that was 2005. Was that wasn't American Badass?
No, this was Dead
still,
Man. He had been.
This was still.
He was. He'd returned as the Dead Man in 2004, so he'd already been the Dead Man by now for about a year already.
Oh, this is after. This is after American Badass.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So he was firmly the Dead Man again for about a year at this point. So I got to see proper Dead Man entrance and everything, music, lights, the whole shebang. So I'm really glad I got to see that. So that was my was my very first wrestling show, and then I think soon after that, about a year or two later, I went to my first ever Monday Night Raw taping, which was at Wembley, I think, Wembley Arena. So, but yeah, so I think that's pretty much my introduction to pro wrestling as it goes. And then I guess that brings us on to
the next topic of this podcast. Yeah, it's how we became friends.
That's right.
And as I'm fast forwarding through, I could do this probably easier, but I'm clicking through year by year to get to the SummerSlam that we're going to talk about later. So while I do that, I'll let you start. I'll let you start this.
So yeah, I mean, how did we meet? So I'm not sure. You might have to remind me of the page itself, but I know that basically you met in a comment section on a group on Facebook. I believe it was a group about punk rock music. I believe it was, and that's where you met my ex partner at the time.
And this was June. This was June of 2016, and the reason I remember it is because Riverside Odds was on. We were just on our first tour.
Okay. Cool.
Going out because I remember we were like leaving Ohio, and I was just or we were in Ohio at some point. I was just commenting on something. And she commented on something, and it was one of those conversation starter things. And it was like, oh, you and I have similar ways of thinking about things. Yeah. That's cool. Let's continue talking about things that we both like, punk rock and professional wrestling. That's
right. And then led to you. She said to me, oh, there's this guy, met him on Facebook, and he's in a punk band, and he's into pro wrestling, and he's yada yada.
He's my new best friend.
Yeah, and I was like, do you want to introduce? I'll introduce you. I was like, yeah, sure. And then I guess we got chatting. The rest is history in that sense. And then
pretty much.
We just kept. I don't know. We just. I don't even remember like us first talking. We just did talk.
I think what happened. Well, I think what happened was it was probably so. It must have been some. I don't know the connecting time frame, because there's a big gap between. There's a gap between June of 2016 and then August 2018.
Whoa, was when. Let's not forget you and your family came over to the UK in 2017.
Right. So we met.
So we hung out there. We hung out for.
We came out. Yeah, we hung out in 2017. So we had become close enough friends at that point that we decided we were coming over for the Rebellion Festival.
That's right. That was also in August.
That was in
August of 2017.
So it's right. So all of these things, so many of these things center around SummerSlam time.
Yeah. True.
We were coming over for we were coming over for Rebellion Fest. We made it. It was basically our excuse to take a family trip over to England. We went up to Scotland as well, and then to the Rebellion Festival, and met up with you and her in London.
Yeah, and we spent like a good 4 or 5 days just
roaming
roaming around
yeah,
London, basically.
romping,
Yeah.
Yeah, roaming around London, going to record
Went to the
stores,
Tower of London. It was great.
Doing all the fun stuff. Yeah. Messing with some giant crows.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then speed ahead another whole year, and that's when we came to the States this time. Spent a week in New York, and at the very end of that week, that's when you guys came to Brooklyn, and we met up with you, and we went to.
It was Takeover 4. Takeover Brooklyn 4.
Takeover Brooklyn 4. There've been that many?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
What, are you sure?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was, yeah. Takeover Brooklyn, August 18th, 2008. Yeah, 2018 was Takeover Brooklyn number 4.
That's crazy.
Bianca. Yeah, that was the main event was Ciampa and Gargano in a last man standing.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Oh, shit,
yeah.
I'm looking at the card right now. Undisputed Era versus Mustache Mountain. That match was amazing.
Yeah.
Adam Cole and Ricochet with the freaking backflip and the kick in the face.
Oh, dude, the super, the Adam Cole super kick
man.
for Ricochet's backflip. That was insane to see. That whole. I mean, I have the poster right behind.
I remember you getting it.
Video,
yeah.
But we've got.
Oh, I bought you that frame.
NXT poster. Yes, you did.
Yeah, because we were out in Philly and we were like, "What size is the?" Yeah, I remember buying this frame.
Yeah, you picked up the frame for it. Yeah, that was the first event, and then SummerSlam the next night, and that was also the first literally days prior to that was when I found out about Dan Black's Comedians of Wrestling. And got deep into that, maybe a week or so before that.
So I was wondering where that lined up, because I remember
it was very soon before that. It was within weeks.
We went to the Brooklyn show, the NXT show, and the next night we met outside the Barclays Center. I just said Barclays Center like I was an American. So you guys call it the Barclays Center, and we just call it the
Barclay.
We call it Barclays. Just no clay, just please. I remember meeting you guys up, meeting up with you guys outside the Barclays Center.
Was it SummerSlam or was it? I think it was NXT, because it had to be NXT.
Are you sure?
We met up with and. We met up with Neil Parrish from the community. Yeah. Because for NXT we had seats higher up.
Oh, you're right.
And he had a Johnny Gargano. He had the Johnny Gargano.
Right. Yeah.
He had a cow sign with the Johnny Gargano smile as the O for Comedians of Wrestling.
Shit,
and I had an extra ticket that night because a buddy of mine was supposed to go and then couldn't. So we had an extra ticket and we were texting in the Facebook Facebook group, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm up here. I'm like a couple rows up," and I'm like, "We got an extra seat. Come on down."
And he sat with us.
Upgrade.
You're damn right, you did, dude.
Yeah.
I have a freaking picture on my phone of all of us together with Neil as well.
Yeah. With Neil and the cow Comedians Wrestling sign. The next night, SummerSlam, we had floor tickets.
That's right. Yeah, you're freaking
right. Because you and your ex got, you guys were on. You got part. You can see you on the video package.
Yeah, well, so there was there was a video package for Becky Lynch's heel turn when she.
Yes.
And we were in the reaction shot. Well, the three of us were actually. You're in that shot too.
That's right. You could see me. Yeah.
So we did the Brooklyn show. Yeah, that's when we met Neil, and And but no. So the thing is, we met up outside the arena before the Brooklyn show, and I remember you got Adriana to take a picture of me, you, and Neil doing the fucking cow sign, and with our fingers, right? And at the time,
we're all fucking it up.
At the time, I was like, "What the fuck is this?" Because I never listened to cow at that point. And
right, I was just trying to get. I think that was that weekend that I was getting you and her in.
That's right. You started to talk to us about it. That's right. So
yes,
and then
that was also SummerSlam that night. That was also when I ran up and met David Arquette and he and I threw up the cow. So I got David Arquette to throw up the cow sign like a week after joining the
That's
group.
right. That was you.
Dan Black definitely owes me one.
But yeah, so yeah, I do remember David Arquette. Well, now I do. I just forgot all about it. So yeah,
because I just ran up. I'm like, we saw him. I don't know how we.
He was like a few rows ahead of us.
We saw him walking. Yeah, he was a couple rows ahead of us, and we saw him, I guess, walking up, and I'm like, I'm gonna go say hi, and I'm gonna see if I can convince him to throw up the cow sign.
Yeah.
Because we did. I put the picture up, and we did like we were one of the first people to do the two-handed cow sign too.
Yeah.
I'm claiming ownership of that as well. And we'll put, and for those that want to know, we will put it up there. I'll send that picture to you, and we'll put it up on our Instagram. Yeah. Punks Talk Wrestling. We'll just, because it's relevant to how we met and how this. Honestly, that bleeds directly into. We'll jump back to that because I think we need to take a minute to go back and just look at that card. But it does jump into the reason for this whole podcast.
Yeah.
Was both of us kind of being inspired by what Dan did and what that whole community
let's
did
talk about that for a second
podcast.
there, because that was 2018, and I listened to that, and I think you did too. I listened to that podcast pretty religiously every single week for years and years.
Yeah.
2018, 19, 20, through the pandemic especially was a big deal, and we had, we had
really
the whole the video package competition thing they did, like the promo competition they did.
Oh, the promo, the promo to the competition to have a match for
Dan
for
Black.
the title.
Yeah. So I mean, all that.
Oh
stuff,
yeah, you and I did some killer stuff.
Oh hell
for
yeah,
that,
I love those.
I
videos.
went full. You had that was so much fun. Yeah, that's where the proper prick that's where the proper prick came from.
Yeah.
Was your promo where you're sitting in a smoking jacket and lounging and God. That's another thing. I think we'll put that up. We should put links to that or find those videos, and we'll put them up on our Patreon as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we could put all that stuff up on the Instagram, to be honest.
We
can
100%.
For reference. But I think the Patreon's probably a better place to put that. Along with and we talked about this before we actually started recording, but since it was a note that we should plug everything, and we're plugging them now, we do have a Patreon, easy to find, Punks Talk Wrestling. We're going to start putting on there the unedited versions of all of these podcasts, because we do have to cut some things out just to keep, we're trying to keep all of these to a certain length. So as Chris and I will ramble on, and there's lots of side comments that sometimes just are not, they're really not worth putting up there. Well, I shouldn't say they're not worth putting up there. They're definitely worth for the people that want to hear.
But we just go off on tangents
more.
sometimes, and sometimes.
Yeah, we just go off on more tangents.
Yeah.
We actually get into more conversations that are not wrestling related as much. But we're gonna start putting up the uncut, versions of all of these podcasts on our Patreon as well.
Exactly.
Just for a space. It's a space where we can keep some extra stuff. So you can look for us there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were watching. We were, big fans of the podcast for such a long time, and then,
Oh yeah, we got. I mean, to the point where we donated. Well, I think you weren't. I don't know that you were a member yet enough, but I had been donating to their Patreon.
Oh, same. I was a Patreon. Yeah, I was a Patreon.
Oh yeah, I know you were for a time, but I don't know if you got in before he did his first special. The Patreon special.
Oh, I saw the Patreon special.
Yeah, but were you a patron? Is your name in the?
Not to that extent.
Was your name on the credits?
No, but I did watch the Patreon special because I paid enough to at least see that. So.
Oh, see, I paid enough to get to basically to have our name. Well, the band, it was from the band's Patreon, Riverside Odds. So Riverside Odds appears in Dan Black's in that Dan Black special from the first Cow special. I went to the first Cowmania in New York as well that weekend because that was 2019. the week I took my dad, Bradley, and my buddy of mine to WrestleMania as well. So the Comedians of Wrestling podcast is really what got us to start this. It was them no longer being a thing.
Yeah.
No, it's the Cow podcast ending that sort of began our journey. It was like, hey, this is a void that we loved. Why don't we fill it ourselves?
Exactly. Yeah.
Here we are.
The Cow podcast ended. It kind of started this year, and I think we just got chatting. I guess you approached me first. I'm pretty sure. You know what? I feel like in the past we had talked about this before, and it was just kind of rumbling away. But
we really did.
This was kind of a good a time as any now to do it. I think basically.
Once we started hearing other people say, "Oh man, yeah," once other people were vocally saying we miss having this, we're like, well, the best we can do is give people an alternative. So we have been, we've been sharing all these in that group as well. And we've been getting some good receptions from people, and that feels good. That feels great.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad that some people are digging what we're doing.
Yeah.
Cause we're just a couple of punks that are talking wrestling.
That's right. And we're just getting started as well. So
yeah,
it's been a good 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Month and a half already.
This is episode. Well, this is episode. This will be episode 6. Yeah. So 7 weeks if you consider our pilot episode that we did beforehand, which is also available on Patreon.
That's right. Any place you can find it.
Patreon.com/punkstalkwrestling. Let's just real quick. Let's just go back and look at that. Look at that card again.
SummerSlam 2018.
SummerSlam 2018, and once again, SummerSlam being such an important. SummerSlam seems to just be an important time, for all of us.
So what are we looking at? We had Andrade Cien Almas versus Lana. Angelina Vega versus Lana and Rusev. This is the pre-show. Cedric Alexander versus Drew Gulak. Don't even remember that.
Yeah, that was a cruiserweight match.
Remember that? I might have even gone to the merch stand during the match. I won't lie to you.
Yeah, we might. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
B-Team. I remember
B-Team in the revival.
B-Team.
Remember that?
Man, I love B-Team.
Seth and Dolph was good. I remember that match.
Yeah.
New Day and the Bludgeon Brothers.
Oh my God, I love them. I love the Bludgeon Brothers
Braun
so
Strowman
much. Talk about
and Kevin Owens, man, freaking. I lost my shit when I didn't remember that match lasting 1 minute 50 seconds, but apparently it did.
That was a match for the Money in the Bank contract. We'll have to. I think we might need to do a special deep dive back into this.
I think you're right. It'd be good to watch an event back that we were both at for sure.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Well, speaking of events that we're both going to be at.
Have we even talked about this yet on the pod?
I don't think we have. Not on the podcast. We haven't talked about the fact that you are coming back here in April, and we are going to WrestleMania together.
We are.
Also, the day before WrestleMania, Friday, April 5th, we will be holding a special punk rock and wrestling event at the Ruba Club in Philadelphia. There's a lot of details about that we will be talking about later, but
that's pretty much all the details you have right now. It's happening.
The details that we have are it's an event and it's happening on April 5th in the afternoon. So people that are coming in that are going to SmackDown as well, you can come to our event in the afternoon. That's the whole reason we're having it. We'll be talking more about that as we get more information about it.
But loads of punk rock and loads of wrestling. What else do you really want or need? To be honest with you.
It's literally everything that we talk about.
That's right. It's in the name.
Yeah, it's right there. It's right there. What else? Charlotte versus Carmella.
Charlotte Carmella and Becky Lynch, and that was the Becky Lynch
triple threat match
at the end where she
because Charlotte pushed herself into that match.
Yeah.
So that was Becky Lynch heel turn into the man. Loved it. Samoa Joe and AJ Styles for the WWE Championship.
Yeah.
Oh right, AJ Styles was the champion. Yep, that was DQ.
That was the whole Wendy stuff that Samoa Joe was doing when he was going after his wife.
Creepy
Joe, basically.
Being creepy Joe, that never works. That never works. It didn't work with DDP. It didn't work with Samoa Joe.
Right, yeah.
It obviously was a holdover. We'll when we deep dive into this, we'll go back into what those storylines
Miz
were.
versus Daniel Bryan. Oh, do you remember this
defeated
match? Daniel
Bryan.
Yeah, because Maurice had a pram, and she had like brass knucks in the pram. I'm really probably screwing that up, but she cheated. They definitely cheated.
Yes, but 23 and a half minute match. Those two must have put on a clinic.
That was the longest match of the night, in fact.
Yeah. The Demon Balor
versus Baron Corbin
defeated
and
Baron Corbin.
That was a surprise because the Demon it was meant to be just more normal Finn Balor in that match.
Oh yeah, again, I got to look back at what all happened. How that was.
Shinsuke versus Jeff Hardy. The only big thing I remember from this match.
U.S. champion Shinsuke Nakamura.
Oh shit, yeah, you're right. Jeff did a freaking senton bomb from the top rope to the ring apron.
Yeah, yes, he did. Yeah, that looked brutal.
We had Rousey,
Ronda Rousey
versus Alexa Bliss for the Raw Championship, Women's Championship. I mean, that was Ronda's first Women's Championship, actually. Come to think of it.
And also, look at what the next match was.
Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, Roman Reigns defeating Brock Lesnar for the Universal Champion. Now, this was not the Universal Championship reign that he's currently in.
No, but
because this is 2018.
Yeah, this is one of his many Universal title runs, but
yeah, for a moment there, I saw that. For a moment there, I'm like, wait, did we witness the beginning? No, this was not. We did not witness together the beginning of that title reign. But
he won that title now in 2000. No, 2000.
Yeah, 2000. Yeah, because he just passed. Yeah, because he just passed.
He just passed 3 years. That's
just passed 3 years.
Insane.
And I'm pretty. But I think it was also at SummerSlam when he won. Was it not?
Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. It was him.
SummerSlam. No, because that SummerSlam 2020 was Fiend. Fiend had the Universal Champion. That was Fiend and Bray Wyatt. Anyway, that's a whole other kettle of fish right there. That's a whole other whatever you just said right there.
Is that not a saying? I love sayings that you don't say. A whole other kettle of fish.
Yeah. There's no such thing as a kettle of fish in America.
I think a kettle of fish is a collection of fish.
We say can of worms.
Oh yeah. I know that expression. Yeah. That's exactly it. It's a whole other kettle of fish.
Yeah,
another kettle of fish.
Although can of worms can be used for a number of reasons.
But can of worms is more of like you open up a can of worms, like something that you don't want to talk about.
That's true. It's more that's more negative connotation.
I think a whole nother kettle of fish is like that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, that's pretty much a whole nother. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess
that's what I meant. Yeah,
I was just referencing the container of creature sayings.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Oh fuck!
Jesus Christ.
I think that's probably as good as any place to just fall apart.
Yeah, I think I think that's a class. Yeah, if it wouldn't be a podcast, an ending of one of our podcasts is if it just it's falling apart more. Look, the more I speak, more.
The more we say it, the worse it gets. Yeah. The longer we drag this out, the worse it gets.
The worse it gets. Yeah. We might start talking about colonoscopies again before we know it.
Oh man. Yeah. So we're just running through we did everything we needed to do. We plugged the Instagram, we plugged the Patreon. The last thing. No, we didn't. This is why it's a good thing that I had this written down.
What?
We have to talk about what's next week on the podcast.
Shit. Yeah. Because I'm really looking forward to this.
This one's gonna be a good one. It's probably gonna go off the rails, and I'm hoping to get at least some responses from some people that are just if. Next week's episode is going to be our unpopular opinions episode.
Yeah.
And we say that call it hot takes, call it whatever you want. We're just going to dive into either some of the storylines that are our favorite ones that people hated, things that happened, like
just contentious things that we think. Yeah, I've got a few in mind. So, some have really I can't really specify because they're just very niche. But
one of mine specifically is Goldberg beating the Fiend for the Universal Championship.
Man, yeah. You're gonna piss a lot of people
Yeah,
off
that's one. That's the one I want to. That's one I love to talk about. The first Raw after All In. Remember that?
Oh yeah. Oh,
remember the chaos of that?
Yeah.
And the people, again, this is one of those things where you could, if you were watching them live, if you were watching it live and hearing people's reactions to them at the time, the things that people, vocal fans online, just hated, but I loved. So those are sort of what we talk about. Our unpopular opinion.
So one of my big ones, one of mine on the list is the fact that I really like the Authority era. So that's going to piss a lot of people off. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Other things that I'll touch on. My everything positive that I have to say about Retribution. That's going to be another good one. We're gonna get into some really good stuff.
Not to mention the Seth Rollins. We kind of got into the Seth Rollins.
We touched that on the Bray episode.
Yeah.
Seth, the Hell in a Cell match. How I have such a different take on that. So
it's gonna be a fun episode.
Next week's gonna be a fun one. Next week's gonna be pretty hot.
Yeah.
Pretty hot. All right.
Hell yeah! I think that's it.